Let's talk some Pittsburgh Steelers. They lose to the Cincinnati Bengals in a game that the scoreboard, I don't think, described how far away this game actually was. 19-17, an opportunity at the end of this one for Russell Wilson to put a stamp on his downfall and say, we're back, we're alive, we have all the momentum. Everybody, myself included, who spent the entire game writing the Pittsburgh Steelers are in trouble right now story, watched that game and went, I'm going to have to scrap this. This thing's going to have to go away. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to have to talk about how a 2-minute drill gave some light, because that's exactly what it would have done. We would have woke up Sunday morning thrilled that the Pittsburgh Steelers are heading to Houston. They got out of their losing streak. It wasn't pretty, but I mean, hell, a 20-19 victory doesn't look that bad. The defense held Joe Burrow and company to under 20 points, and the offense put 20-plus points up. That's all you're asking for in an NFL game. Would have looked good. Instead, Russell Wilson completes a pass behind the line of scrimmage. His next one is incomplete. George Pickens drops a pass, which we'll dive into George in a little while here. And Russ decides to run, knock it out of bounds, and he ends it off with an incompletion to Pat Freiermuth over the middle with about 15 seconds left in the ballgame. It was another example of, man, the Steelers keep falling, and they just can't seem to get back up. I'll ask you point blank 2 questions. I think that's how we start this show off. Is this rock bottom for the Pittsburgh Steelers? And is this the end of any talk, any thoughts of Russell Wilson returning in 2025?
You have a hard time believing it's not rock bottom. I mean, they've gone 10-7 once again. They are widely considered the weakest team in the entire playoff field right now going into the postseason. They have to go up against a Baltimore Ravens team that embarrassed them a couple weeks ago. Their offense looks horrendous, and this will be probably the first of several times I'll say this today. The one silver lining is the defense looked to be able to have figured it out. They looked pretty good. They weren't perfect. They still had their issues, but you hold Joe Burrow the way he's currently playing, under 20 points, I think you're calling that a successful game. Even if T. Higgins missed most of the game, even if you did leave Corey Trice on an island with Jamar Chase most of the game, which is coaching malpractice. But I think outside of that, it's pretty close to rock bottom for the Steelers.
Yeah, I don't disagree. This is where the Steelers' downfall hits a point where if you lose to Baltimore, it's expected. And you're no longer sitting here going, it can't get any worse. No, it can't. It's worse. This is the worst it can possibly get for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now they head into the offseason. I mean, obviously they have a playoff game, and we'll dive into our confidence in them in a little while here. Hey, football fans, there's only a few short weeks left in the season, and we've got some exciting wildcard games to look forward to. Get in on the action right now with my partners at DraftKings Sportsbook. They're offering all new customers $200 in bonus bets instantly after betting just $5. Don't let this slip away. Download the DraftKings app now and sign up using our code ALLSTEELERS. The crown is yours. Stay in the action and use your $200 in bonus bets on DraftKings same-game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. Combine multiple bets together from the same game. Love the thrill of betting? DraftKings has got you covered. Bet live on in-progress games right as they happen, making watching the game that much more exciting. If sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. You can still join in on all the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy and have the shot to win cash prizes. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use my promo code ALLSTEELERS and bet just $5 on any wager and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code ALLSTEELERS only at DraftKings Sportsbook. But they head into a playoff game where things are rough, and if they shock the world, awesome, fantastic. But that's what they'd have to do at this point, is shock the world. They'd have to go into Baltimore, win a game against potentially the hottest team in the entire NFL, and say, we're here, we're back, we're fine. This is going to be okay. We hit a skid, but we figured it out. I think this is about rock bottom. You can only go up from here. hopefully the Steelers don't coast it out into the offseason, and instead they try to figure it out. I'll say this, the locker room was pretty fired up, like pretty to a point where it was like, okay, this is either got to end. Even Russ had some emotion. This is either got to end or we got to figure it out. And we're no longer sitting around saying, "Oh, we'll be okay." No, they understand they're not going to be okay. They have to do something about it. And even Russ, I mean, asked about George Pickens, had a little bit of fire in him, saying things like, "No, I believe in," cutting the question off. "I believe in George." All right, that's great. I don't think anybody else at this point really believes in anybody. So it's good to hear Russ kind of avoid the normal questions, the normal responses, the media trained, this is Russell Wilson, this is what he says because this is what he's supposed to say, answers and give you something real. That was good to see. I think it lit a fire. I think the Steelers have a fire. I don't think the Steelers' solution is fire-based. I don't think it's, oh, they just have to get some pep in their step. No, I think they genuinely have issues that are emerging, that have reached the surface, and they can no longer solve them. I mean, they built this entire team off of running the football successfully. They're running the football successfully at a just above average rate. It's just good enough to be considered successful, and it's not enough to carry a franchise to the Super Bowl, which is what the Pittsburgh Steelers wanted to do. For 3 games, Najee Harris looked like the guy that could do that for the Steelers. At this point, nobody on the ground looks like they could do that for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They have no passing game, and now George Pickens has the drops, and you're wondering what's going on there. And their defense, yeah, awesome. They figured it out. They held Joe Burrow to 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and under 20 points, only for everybody to be reminded what it's like to have an offense that can't score 20. And that's where the Steelers are. I don't think this is, you got to get things moving. I think this is, the issues have hit a peak. You know, the Van Jefferson is your wide receiver 2, yet he's almost useless. Your wide receiver 1 has the drops and you have nobody to turn to. Your 36-year-old Super Bowl winning quarterback that you signed and started and benched Justin Fields for was supposed to not turn the ball over, not have mistakes, be able to lead this team in crucial moments. He can't do any of those things. He had 51 yards heading into the 4th quarter on Saturday. 51 yards heading into the 4th quarter. And even on days where your defense is good, Chris Boswell can't win you every game, especially if your offense isn't giving them the opportunities. So that's where the Steelers are. Again, I don't think that it's fire-based. You got to just step up and do it. I think this is much more than that, actual problems. And I don't know if they're solvable in a week. It's unfortunate, but I think the Steelers' nightmares have come true. And that's where we sit with the Pittsburgh Steelers, is all the issues you've avoided, ignored, we've tried to talk ourselves into have come to the surface, and they are just not built to be as successful as they once were thought to be this season.